Hi SJ, I hope you are physically, mentally, and emotionally coping up with regard to this different catastrophe that we are experiencing. So always be hopeful. For today's video, I'll be discussing lesson number 7, which is about or which are clustered into contemporary politics and history, conflict and violence, filmmaking, as well as film criticism. So when we say contemporary politics and history, we are going to check here the role or the functions of media in the past in terms of history and politics. But before we proceed to that, let's go first to your foundation on how to get public opinion. So how do we trigger again public opinion in a positive or a negative way? First, we undergo the process of gatekeeping. And when we say gatekeeping, this is the process of filtering news and information. We filter the news and information based on its importance. And the moment we already filter the news and information, that is the time we tell the public what to think about through agenda setting. And who set again the agenda? It's the media. As watchdog of the society, we provide them those different social concerns that they need to act upon in a short term or in a long term goal. And before we get public opinion, we also trigger persuasion. And persuasion is the process of attitude change, wherein we persuade the public to think about this particular social concern and create or ponder upon those baby steps for them to provide solutions, remedy, or even recommendations. There are two concerns under contemporary politics and history. Let's start the first bullet. Historical role of media in shaping public opinion and national identity. One good example of this in terms of national identity is the people power. The Filipino people ousted a dictator. That legacy actually shaped national identity. Through media, through print, broadcast, and new media, we trigger change by encouraging people to exercise their freedom of expression pertaining to what is factual, what is objective, and what is truthful. Second, how contemporary media can provide the public with politically and socially useful information and analysis. Remember, conflict of interest. If you are a watchdog, if you are a media practitioner, you need to eliminate your personal bias, your prejudice, your stereotypes. Whenever you provide information to the public, you need to be objective. We provide information objectively and not subjectively. The reason why media shape politics and history because of their credibility. There's a posted question. What is happening in the Philippines in terms of politics and how can you relate the things happening right now in the past? This is actually a thought-provoking question and very relevant nowadays. So ask yourself, what is happening in the Philippines in terms of the political aspect, social aspect? And as a social journalism student, what can I do? What can I contribute in spite and despite of this particular condition? Second itinerary, conflict and violence. We already discussed this previously under national security, that whenever we provide news and information, we are not allowed to provide sensationalism or yellow journalism, wherein there is an exaggeration that triggers also hoax or fearmongering or scaremongering. There are two particular bullets presented. Let's go to the first one. If media are often found to support forces that lead to violent conflict, they should also have the power to support the forces of peace. There is a particular quotation which state that if there's no war, there's no peace. Just like what happened in Marawi siege. If you will check on the news and information, actually they didn't provide us a lot of exaggeration, negative thoughts, or even yellow journalism. But they only provide us the brief and concise status of the event happening in Marawi. Because the moment you actually bombard the public with the negative thoughts, with the exaggeration of the footages that is happening in Marawi, that is already yellow journalism. Because those are just supplementary. What is very important or the primary source of information is the content that you can deliver. Another is this particular pandemic that we are experiencing, right? We are not to be divided, but we are to be united. Second, relationship between the media content and its audiences. Always take note of this, that before you publish a particular print or produce broadcast information, check your target market. Is my target market the Bicolanos? Is my target market the Philippines? or which part of a particular country, because it will make sense in terms of the content or in terms of the substance of the news and information that you would like to deliver. For example, the donation drive that we are currently doing, we didn't just recognize the Bicolanos as our target market, but we also asked assistance and seek help to those individuals who are not greatly affected, for them to lend a hand to those who are greatly affected. And at this darkest hour, it is very important that we function as a credible source of information, as a media practitioner, as a social journalism student, as a journalist, because people badly need us. Especially now that literacy is being triggered by hoax, fear-mongering, scaremongering, and the like. You will see here the example I made mention earlier with regard to Marawi siege and a lot more. Remember, when we deliver a particular news and information, we need to balance the good and the bad. It's not always the bad. Now let's proceed to filmmaking. When we say filmmaking, we need to check on the three stages of production. First is pre-production. And when we say pre-production, this is the time we actually provide our pitch, our storyline, our dialogues, etc. Always remember the survival kit we previously discussed under Crash Course for you to be properly oriented and for you to be properly guided. When we say production, this is the filming or the execution of that particular script, dialogue, storyboard. In production, you will see here the cinematography, the directors, managing the whole production, etc. And of course, we also have post-production. This is the process of editing the audio and the visual effects. Take note, in filmmaking, there are three scripts. The first script can be found under pre-production. That is the initial script provided by the scriptwriter or screenplay writer. You will see here the three-column script wherein you have there the audio, the visual, and the duration. Production, you will see here the second script, which is the execution, the different shots that the cinematographer or the director of photography could execute and comply with. And then finally, you will see the last script under post-production, and these are modification of the editors with regard to the sequencing. Now, how do we actually provide or how do we evaluate a particular film? We check first the content. Is it an advocacy film or is it a documentary film? When we say advocacy film, then we have the control of the production because we write our own script. But when we say documentary film, we don't have a control on a certain production stage. But you can sequence those events under post-production without modification of the factual basis or content. Second, check on the setting. This is an excerpt from the Die Womb of Brilliante Mendoza. The main actress here is Nora Honor. So check if the setting is suitable to the film or documentary. Second, check on the character, especially the antagonist or the protagonist, if they are suited on those character or in the dialogue that they are going to present. Still under content, check the plot from introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, denouement. So check if the plot is the traditional one or the modern plot. We already established the difference between the two. When we say traditional plot, that is flat, linear, wherein you start from the beginning, middle, and end. When we say modern plot, that is the time we provide flashback by starting at the middle, then going back to the beginning, and then end. And these are examples of those good plot. The day after Valentine's Day, this advocates good health and well-being. It is not a plain love story, but there is an advocacy. On the Job, this is a really great independent film. Highlight of the film is peace, justice, and strong institutions, and there's reduce inequalities, decent work and economic growth, etc. And then finally, of course, the learning. In the learning, you need to check if that is a short-term or a long-term goal. If that is, again, a short-term goal, that is a call for an immediate cause or action. If that is a long-term goal, that is the time the producer or the filmmaker suggests baby steps. And from there, the viewers or the target market will also add up to those baby steps. Let's go to visual. Check on the OBB and CBB. I hope you're already familiar with this. When we say OBB, that is the opening billboard. That is the first 10 seconds of the film. And when we say CBB, this is the last frame of the film before the rolling credits. Of course, in terms of the visual, the rule of thirds is very important. We are not allowed to put our subject at the center, but we need to follow the intersection in that particular frame. Headroom 1.5. The point 0.5 is the margin of error in the post-production. Difference between color and texture. Color is a vital factor. Texture provides a sense of touch, seeing, hearing, smelling, etc. Sharpness, check if there's no visual noise, and check if which is more relevant, the subject or the background, or at some point check on the parallel editing and other transitions, etc. Noise is also correlated with the sharpness. Do not zoom in or zoom out. Instead, use dolly in and dolly out for you not to trigger or for you not to have a visual noise. Under audio, we already established the difference between all of this. When we say background music, that is only 50% the volume. Background music, that is with lyrics. And when we say music bed, this is your instrumental. Beethoven, Mozart, etc. Whenever we have music bed, we need to follow the 70-30 rule. 70% the voice, 30% is the music bed. We need to emphasize the content than the music bed because the music bed is only supplementary. It actually triggers the mood. But we need to highly emphasize the content or the substance of the audio. Third, consistency of the audio. If that is 50%, then everything will be 50%. If that is 70%, then everything will be 70%. Always remember that we don't actually put or boost the audio into 100% because the moment you export that, that will be sabog. And of course, we also have the SFX or the sound effects. The bell, the fire, the shout, the crying baby, chirping of the birds, etc. And finally, if you can perform or if you can produce one original score, it can be a background music, music bed, your own sound effects by using your mouth or other elements, etc. So that's it for lesson number 7. If you have questions, feel free to send message and or the like in the platform that is convenient to you. For now, stay safe and stay sane. Thank you.